You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. You know, almost stunning, really, as the final score of the game on Saturday, is that 5.5 quarters ago, like, think about this. 5.5 quarters ago, you'd won 6 straight. You beat Ole Miss. Huge win. Week later, you rout Arkansas. Remember, Arkansas was coming off their bye. They had upset Tennessee going into their bye. And you were up 2 scores on the road at A&M in the second half of a game between the only 2 remaining unbeaten teams in SEC play. I mean, 5.5 quarters ago, things were looking really good. And now we are questioning the entire direction of the program. Rightfully so, by the way. I mean, what's happened over the last 5.5 quarters is borderline inexplicable. Certainly unacceptable. The truth, I guess it can't be truth if I think it. What I think is happening is that Marcel Reed and Jalen Milroe exposed your biggest weakness that can only be fixed in recruiting and in the transfer portal. I'll come back to that. The game itself is pretty simple to see how it all unfolded. It actually started off so good. You deferred. Before they snapped the ball, they had a false start. So it's 1st and 15. They run the ball for a yard. It's 2nd and 14. The pressure gets to Milroe. He's flushed to the right. You had a little bit of a coverage bust there. He completes it to Ryan Williams for 19 yards. One of only 2 catches, by the way, from Ryan Williams on the entire night. 1st and 10, no gain. 2nd and 10, gain of 1 yard. 3rd and 9, reception for 10 yards. And that was the story. Bama converted their first 5 third downs. They were 7 of 9 in the first half. A couple plays later, Milroe was in the end zone. No worries. 50-yard kickoff return, 45-yard run by Caden Durham. Boom, you're right in business. You're thinking this is the kind of game we expected. Tigers settle for a short field goal. And then we kind of know what transpired. And really, the game all changed on Nussmeier's fumble. I mean, you had 4th and 1. You come up with the big defensive stop. There's 3:37 to go in the half. And this is why you defer. It's 14-6. You weathered the storm, figuratively and literally. It's 14-6, despite things really not going your way. And you have the ball with 3 minutes to go, a chance to go score here at the end of the first half, get the ball to start the second half, maybe take the lead and change the entire dynamic in the second half. And crowds back into it after the 4th down stop on the first play. DJ Chester misses a blitzing linebacker. Nussmeier fumbles. Alabama gets it. 1, 2, 3 plays later, it's 21-6. Even still, you had an opportunity. Start of the second half, you convert 2 4th downs, a 4th and 1 on Nussmeier's sneak, a 4th and 4, Nussmeier to Mason Taylor. And ultimately, you get down to the 5-yard line and you throw the interception. And for all intents and purposes, that was the ball game at that point. But you had your opportunities, even despite as badly as it went at times, but the mistakes bit you. There's 3 things after the A&M game that we all looked at and said, okay, in your bye week, you got to fix these 3 things. It was your missed field goals, it was your turnover problems, and then the running quarterback. Well, you were 2 of 2. Damian Ramos was 2 for 2 in field goals. So that was about more the norm, right? The A&M game, I think we'd all agree with Ramos was more the outlier, was the exception, not the rule. The turnovers continue to be a problem. The turnovers cost you against Texas A&M, and then clearly the 2 most pivotal moments in the game on Saturday night that fundamentally just shifted the entire thing was Nussmeier's fumble and the goal line interception. Those were 2 opportunities that you had to get back into the game. I'm not saying you would have won it because I still don't think you were going to stop Jalen Milroe from running the ball, clearly. But those could have made it a different path, a different, I don't want to say a different outcome, but it would have been just a very different game than what the final score said it was, which was a completely one-sided tilt. And that's because of the third thing, which is your inability to stop the running quarterback. Jalen Milroe continues to be a stunningly inadequate downfield passer. The possession where you forced a punt down 14-3, where it looked like they were going to kick the field goal, then they had the delay and ended up punting. On the first play of that drive, they threw deep to Ryan Williams. He was wide open. Milroe missed him. And on the 3rd and 8, they threw deep down the middle, and Milroe missed him. He's just not a good vertical passer. I mean, that's objectively true. What he is, however, is a dynamic athlete running the football, which we all knew. That's not a secret. He ran for 155 against you last year, and that's the thing we all talked about for 2 weeks that you had to go work on to fix. And even though you knew he was going to run it, you still couldn't stop it. After the game, Brian Kelly talked about the issues with the running quarterback, and he said it plain and simple about what the reality is about the approach to stopping a running quarterback.
If you're watching the game, you're like, what did these guys do for 2 weeks? Like, we have a scheme to stop the quarterback. We did not get that done. So I take responsibility for it. You know, Blaker's not going to hide from the responsibility, but we also have to put our players in the right position, too, to take advantage of what they're capable of doing.
Okay, so this is the one I wanted. Play the other one.
You know, we're not reinventing the wheel when it comes to defending the quarterback. There's only a couple of ways to defend him. And so we have to be able to get our players that we're not trading any of them. There's no waiver wire. We're not bringing anybody up from the demo squad. We've got to come up with the right answers on what works best for the guys that we have. It hasn't worked very well these last couple of games. So we got to go back and start all over again and look at what's the best way to defend in certain situations with the players.
Okay, thank you. With the players we have. He's telling you without telling you. There's only 2 ways to stop a mobile quarterback. And clearly what we're doing with the guys we have ain't working. We can't go to the demo squad. There's no waiver wire. You got what you got. He's telling you the answer without telling you. He's not trying to place the blame at the foot of the players. And I understand very much that coaching is a massive part of this. Okay, I do understand. Believe me, everyone is culpable. Brian Kelly, Blake Baker, Joe Sloan, they're all culpable, all of them. But the reality that we all need to accept at this point is that LSU, as far as its defensive talent, is not at a place where it's ready to compete for a championship. And there are certain things that LSU does very well defensively. I mean, think about it. Your coverage has improved this year. You have had a good pass rush all season. When you face a quarterback like Connor Wegman, you've been pretty good. Not just relatively good, like good no matter what comparison you're making. But when you face a quarterback like Lenora Sellers or Marcel Reed or Jalen Milroe that is athletic enough to get to the edge and powerful enough to run between the tackles, you can't stop it because you don't have the players to stop it. Every week, Hunt over at LouisianaSports.net does a write-up on the Pro Football Focus grades for the LSU game. Your 3 lowest graded players for this game among your starters, right? Guys that actually played, not like if you played one snap, were Major Burns, Greg Penn, and Jordan Gilbert. I am not sitting here trying to lay this loss at the foot of those 3 young guys. I'm not telling you these 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old guys are out there not playing hard and trying to lose. It's not the case at all. I think they're all trying very hard. And they're working hard and trying to do it. But the reality is at this point what your defense is. You have interior players that plug holes in the middle, and they've done pretty good at it as well. And you have athletic linebackers and players at the second and third level, like Major Burns at the star, who are expected to be your leading tacklers. That's what Blake Baker's defense is. I mean, a year ago at Missouri, they won a top 40 defense in the country. top 30 defense in the country, and all of their leading tacklers were linebackers and DBs. Like, that's how his defense is structured. And if you look at this game, I've told you before, like the Pro Football Focus grades, how that all kind of shapes out. It's like it's interesting. It's almost like a color-coded system where it's like blue, dark blue is like the best. And then it goes like to lighter blue, then to dark green, then to lighter green, then like to yellow, then to lighter yellow, then to like orange, and then to red. So like the darker, the redder it gets, like the worse it is. If you look at the color-coded map at Pro Football Focus of those players that I just mentioned, it's like dark red. I mean, like, Paul, you can pull this up if you want. So here's the defensive players. Like, if you look at the bottom, you have, like, there's Major Burns, that 29.1, that dark red, that's Major Burns. That's his tackling grade. Greg Penn had a 39.6 in run defense. Jordan Gilbert had a 30.8 in run defense. The guys you were expecting to be your last line of defense to get Milroe on the ground aren't capable. It's like, it's okay. It's just not their skill set against that guy. This is your weakness. We have a large enough sample size to know now. Like, it's 9 games. That's not going to get better. So you got 3 games to go. You're going to play Florida this week, and they got a transfer quarterback from Yale who doesn't run it a lick. Now, maybe DJ Lagway plays, and Lagway hasn't really run much this year either, but we'll cross that bridge. Then you face Diego Pavia, who absolutely has a problem running the football. And then you're going to face Oklahoma and Jackson Arnold, who's not really a running guy, but he's athletic enough to run and can hurt you. So I don't think this improves this year. There's no reason to believe it will. The only way it's going to get better is recruiting and in the transfer portal. And that's going to take time. And nobody wants to hear that, but that's the reality you're faced with right now. So what can you do over these final 3 games? Mathematically, you're still alive for the college football playoff. Listen, I am not sitting here telling you LSU's going to, please don't go scones. No. You only have 2 losses in the SEC. There is a path as a 2-loss team that LSU could get in. It's not really worth exploring right now. If LSU wins their next 3, here's what you got to hope. Hope everyone ahead of you loses. Hope Auburn beats Alabama. Hope Oklahoma beats Alabama. Hope Georgia beats Tennessee. A lot of things like that you need to hope for. Whatever. It's not worth having that convo, but it's mathematically still possible. What you need to do is make sure you go win your next 3 games. Win your next 3, get to 9-3, go to a nice bowl game, win it, get to 10. I'm not saying that's acceptable. I'm not saying that's people's expectations. But use that as a springboard into next year when you will have some of these young guys a year older, when you do have this recruiting class coming in, when you will go back into the portal to add more, because that's what it's going to take to get this thing back to the level it needs to be able to compete for a championship, because you're not there yet. Listen, I don't think Alabama is there either. I've said that plenty. I mean, this is still a team that lost to Vanderbilt, lost to Tennessee, and struggled against South Carolina, and struggled against South Florida. That's not a great team. But they have a player with a great skill set that is uniquely positioned to manipulate the thing that you are worst at. And it cost you on Saturday. And it might cost you again against Vanderbilt here in a couple weeks. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.